to a new Hints and Theories video. My name is Julia and today we talk about episode number 2. First of all, what a pity that Sarah couldn't make it back in the game while watching the episode. I really wish that she would be able to return, but to be honest, I didn't have a good feeling because during the week the Widm team kept posting videos of candidates in which they said like she was such a nice person and she should have stayed longer, and the more videos I got to see and the fact that she wasn't part of the app game anymore really got me thinking like, okay, the chance that she's coming back isn't very high. We will get back to Sarah and her part of the game in a minute. First of all, of course, there was a second exit this week, who was Frauke, and yeah, to be honest, I didn't really expect that, but I also didn't suspect her as the mole, so what a pity for her, but not really a big surprise, I think. Before we dive into the tasks, I want to talk about some more general hints. The first one, and that could be quite a huge hint if it is true, is about Daniel. You've probably recognized that we don't have any physical money in this season so far, and to be honest, now that it didn't show up in episode 2, I don't really believe that it will show up in the following episodes. So it's more the style of the Belgian mole, where there are also no bills of anything like that, and that of course could be a hint to Daniel because the money is more or less only digital in this season. And you probably know that Daniel is an investigative journalist who's very busy with topics like the dark web, with hacking, with anything that has to do with computers, and that's also why there are a lot of computer hints leading to Daniel. The money is only one of them. There's also the street art we got to see in this episode with the ones and zeros, which could lead to him, and also the rubber duck. By the way, if you want to know more about the rubber duck hint, and there are several things about rubber ducks, then make sure to check out my Instagram or my TikTok, because I've uploaded the first rubber duck information about that there, and I will also add something about rubber ducks during the week there. And one more thing about Daniel, because we have the first bond year of the season. Yeah! Daniel and Anke have decided to form a bond. And I really am curious what you think about that bond, because Daniel was the one who kind of initiated it, he suggested it to her, and Anke, well, did go along with it, but her first reaction didn't seem very enthusiastic about it, or what do you think? Also, by the way, they both posted something on Instagram yesterday evening that they, well, watched the show together and they seem very close, so maybe that could be a hint to them having a successful bond and getting far in the game. And one more general thing before we get to the tasks is that, again, I personally thought we didn't get to see Ranomi very often. That's something I also recognized during episode 1, and yeah, could be because she just doesn't say that much, or she just doesn't do that much, or could be that the production decided not to show her that much in the first episodes if she is the mole. You probably know that in all the seasons they did do that, they focused on other candidates, and then with the season getting more to its end we got to see more scenes with the mole. Now let's jump to task number 1, but first of all I want to say, if you want to know the episode title and the titles of the tasks and what they would have been in English, then make sure to check out my description box. I translate all the names there, and you also get to see the original one there if you want to see if there's any clue in the titles of the episodes or in the titles of the tasks. And I also added that to the first Hints and Theories video, so maybe you want to puzzle a bit or so, because sometimes it did have a meaning in the older seasons. Now to task number 1 and back to Zara. As you know, she could have made it back into the game if she managed to play 1,500 euros out of the pot. But that also means that the candidates were supposed to earn at least 1,500 euros for her to have a chance to come back. Which puts the mole in an actually nice position, because he or she knew that until 1500, well, there wasn't any more action to be made actually, because Sarah would try her best anyways to play that out of the pot. So the best situation for the mole would have been to earn 1500 euro and Sarah to reach 100%, and then there would have been zero money added to the pot. They didn't manage to reach that. So in the end there was money in the pot and Sarah couldn't make it back. But this whole situation leads to the assumption that the mole didn't do that much in the task at all, because he or she probably thought like, we have to reach 1500, so I'm going to play along. Nevertheless, there are some more actions we can talk about. First of all, Nabia and Soy were pretty risky in getting shot, and to be honest, to me it didn't seem like Nabia was very sad when he had to leave the game. And of course there was also Anik, who dropped one of those balls. Yeah, Anik, Kim Lian. I won't talk anymore about it. But there are also two questions I asked myself, and to be honest I always ask those kind of questions when we have those kind of tasks, and that is, who is controlling the drone? So who is controlling and searching for the candidates and, well, shooting them? And in this certain task also, who is controlling the electric shocks? So who decides who gets the shock? Of course it would be kinda a cool addition to the task if the mole controlled the shocks. But then again, how would he or she do that while having other candidates around him or her? So difficult, but would give an interesting addition to the task. Yeah, all in all, kinda chaos in task number 1. In task number 2 we have those two groups. And the first thing I want to add is that Soy, for my personal beliefs, did mole too obviously. So I think he really wanted to mole, because he just took those photos and sent them so quickly several times. But then again, it was way too obvious to be the real mole, I personally think. What do you think about it? And the second thing is that Yura was very, well, busy with checking with the other candidates. So he was really trying to make sure that the other candidates were well, happy with what he was doing, and that they would say, okay, yeah, you can send a photo like that. And in the end, probably wanted to protect himself from being part of a discussion. But yeah, of course there were discussions, and in general I would say there was a lot that could have gone wrong in that task. So it wasn't really a surprise that it didn't really work out. But I personally believe that the team hoped that it would work out better, so the production team, because they had like that riddle at the end with the sentences and the puppet and the letters, and well, that would have only had a chance to work if they had more than one right photo. So yeah, they probably thought they would do a better job. Then there was Daniel, who was the only one who found a correct photo, a correct street art, and then sent a correct photo. And that of course could be a hint to the fact that he's a candidate who's trying to earn money, who's trying to play a good game. But it could also be him as the mole trying to build up some trust. Because if you are the mole and you see that somebody else, and in this case it was definitely Soy, is trying to mole so much that he or she's already manipulating the game, then you as the mole also can like take a step back and try to, well, be a good candidate, try to appear as a good candidate and earn some more trust of the others. Also, one more thing about that group who had to search for the street art, like why did they stay in the cafe in the beginning? I mean, it was obvious that they knew what the task was, because they started right away when they got the photo. They didn't get any more information from the other group, so I assumed that they really knew what they had to do. So why did they just sit there and didn't like take a walk through that city, through the streets, to figure out what kind of street art actually exists there, to get like an overview. They could have also used the time they had once they had a photo to get an overview of the street art that actually exists there, and then like say 20 minutes of looking around, what do we have here, and then go on sending those photos, because they knew they only had 6 chances. So that would have been a better, well, strategy, I would say. But for the mall, of course, if he is in the street art team, then this would have been amazing to just sit there and wait and don't do anything that actually makes sense. And then in the Widm Mall universum there are also some more hints relating to task number 2. And the first one is that we get to see an M and a letter that looks like an A behind Rick as he explains something to the candidates. That could lead to Mol Anik, for example, or Mol Anka. And also in the group who was in that, well, hall with all those stuff, they had some letters they could use, and the production team put the word mole there, and they were only allowed to use 3 letters, which of course, well, is possible if you write mole in the Dutch way, in the Dutch version. And yeah, some people say that that could be a hint to the fact that the mole was in that group. So not in the searching group, but in the group who was, well, trying to make those photos. And also another rubber duck appeared in that hall. And yeah, in general there were some other hints with M's in that whole episode. I will try to collect them and post them on Instagram because it's way easier there. So make sure to check that out there. All in all, episode number 2 was full of chaos, several hints, a few theories and 2 accents. Let me know what you think about that episode and if you have seen anything suspicious that I didn't mention, and also tell me what you think about those hints and theories. If you want to make sure that you do not miss any further hints and theories, then make sure to subscribe, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, or join our International Facebook group. And you can of course still join our pool on the Widm Mall app if you want to play along. And I'm really looking forward to all your ideas about this episode. It was so much fun to read all your comments about episode number 1, so I'm really looking forward to doing that. And I'm also really looking forward to seeing you all back next week. Until then, bye!